now?
No, we want to see that, but we don't want to see ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've seen it.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'm watching myself talk. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Sorry.
You're one of the ones that always turns the camera off, right? Yes. Oh, I'll meet you in person.
Then I have to find the next one, so that might be a challenge.
So you were like,
Yeah.
hold on.
Well, don't go there yet.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's old.
Also look at that one.
It's not like that.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready? You're good to go. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started with the Syracuse Board of Zoning Appeals for December 18th. How our meetings work. We'll have Matt Sandy from the Area Plans Commission call the case. And when your case is mentioned, we'd ask that you come to the front of the room, introduce yourself, and give us the details you feel that we need to make a decision upon your request for a variance or an exception. After you have had a chance to tell us about your plan, some of us on the board may have questions or clarifications. So we'll ask those at that time. Since this is a public hearing for each one of these exceptions or variances, we will then, after you've had a chance to present your side, we will open the meeting to public comment, and we'll basically ask for people that are either in favor of your request or opposed to your request. After they've had a chance to speak, and we'll make sure everyone does have that opportunity, we will close the meeting to public comment and then allow you, as the petitioner, a chance to answer any of their concerns. After you've had a chance to speak, we up here on the board may ask for any follow-up questions that we might have, or to offer suggestions as we go forward. After we've done that, we will then entertain a motion, whether to accept or deny your petition, and then any conditions that are being set upon those acceptance or that for your variance. After we have voted, we have a couple of sheets of paper that we need to take a moment and fill out while it is still fresh in our memory, and then Matt will then call the next one. So hopefully we'll go into just a quick, easy, smooth meeting, and then after we've heard all cases, then we'll handle our normal monthly business, which is approving the minutes from last month's meeting. So with that being said, that's how the meeting's going to run this evening. And Matt, if you would please start us off with the continuance from last month.
Definitely. So we've got one continuing case from last month that's continuing the variance 2025-283 for Jeff Stanley. And this is a petition for variance to permit allowing construction of a shed/deck 12 feet from the water's edge. Property is located on the southeast side of North Shore Drive and 415 feet southwest of Shore Lane in the town of Syracuse. Shannon's got the property up, and this is new, so bear with us here too. But I do have hard copies if you want those in front of you. But we're along North Shore, and if you know North Shore well, you've got some elevation change that does happen. Most of the homes sit up on the bluff, drops down towards the water's edge. But the petitioners wanting to do in this case, build a shed down at the water's edge that would end up being 12 feet back in the water. And you can see through the plans they want decking on top of that. Not uncommon along there, as long as they stay in line with that existing shed. Obviously, this view is the biggest thing that we've always been concerned about through there. For this hearing, legal ID properly here in the newspaper and by affidavit drawing orders, we're notified.
Hey, good evening, Jeff Stanley.
Okay.
We have, as Matt said, we've got a hillside here, we've got deteriorating hillside because of runoff and everything else. The decking that's on there is 50 years old, it's rotten, it was foot shed. It just needs to be replaced. We wanna put, a concrete pad, the wall, and, a shed that's embedded into the back. From a construction point of view, it's pretty straightforward, you know, excavation, building. You can't see it, I've got pictures of, next door, my neighbor next door has a shed. Actually, Schrock built it, he built that house a while ago. Next door, so right the same line is that shed right there, so we're not sticking out any further. The new wall will be in the same place as the existing wall is right now, so we're not coming out any further than the existing wall. Both the neighbors on both sides enthusiastic about it because it looks like shit right now. They want the property values raised, right? So, I'm, glad to answer any questions.
So is this the existing shed? This is the neighbor.
That's the neighbor.
Okay, is that the neighbor to the east or to the west?
East.
East? Okay, thank you.
Matt, when you get it, so this is right after his, it does drop down. The grade will start dropping down as it goes further to the west. He's one last kind of up on that hill.
And we'll judge the highest point.
With your hill, is it gonna, the top of that deck's gonna stay just at, you're not going above that, kind of where that crest is?
The shed itself is an 8-foot tall shed with a deck on top, right? Farther up in the elevation, right, there's, you know, other stuff. We've got three different levels.
You're gonna be 10 to 15 feet below the top,
Yeah.
of the.
That's what, that is gonna be pretty well same height as the other ones, actually, to the east. It's not gonna be any taller than
No.
that.
No. You know, they're 707 right down the way. They probably went through the same process.
Yes, they
It's
did.
about 2 feet from the watershed, so
That was an existing shed.
it wasn't the same size and,
So yours is gonna be 12 foot back.
yeah.
And that's pretty common on that,
Yeah.
over in that stretch, that pretty much everybody has one almost on the water, 12 foot's definitely an improvement.
So you do not have an existing shed today?
We do not. No.
Okay.
All we have is the wooden planks, holding that hillside back, sort of.
Which of course, an existing, if there was an existing one like that one or your neighbor's, you know, that's where it's an improvement, but it's new, and that's why you're here today, rather than being 35 feet back, which is
No,
in order to protect the lake.
right.
We want that area of runoff to,
Yeah, but that's an improvement, that's bad. I mean, that hillside, any day can wash out right now. I mean, it's just landscape fabric holding that hill on. So that concrete wall is definitely gonna be much more sufficient in holding. Yeah, 'cause that's ready to go at any point here.
and then the space in front of it, you would be on the seawall top. The concrete cap to the
Yeah,
seawall.
from the, sorry, the seawall to the wall, the new wall, right, there'll be a pad here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right now, there's,
So that little stuff is,
you know, everybody needs that pad for, you know, when they take the crews out during the, you know, that's actually, the shed's just gonna be backing into the hillside.
And then you do have multiple tiers, so this is gonna be on the first tier at the top of the seawall level, rather than up to the second tier going toward the house. And is it mainly for access to bring things out of the shed onto that pad, that you chose to be closer to the water than set back?
As you can imagine, it's a pain in the ass to bring things up that hill and back. So you need storage down there. Most everybody on the, on the lake, and then around the lake, you go past the city limits and county, everybody, you come up on it, right? Because of that.
But even though in the county, the setback from the water is the same.
Because of the process, right?
Well, they have a BZA just like this one.
Yeah.
And there's this guy is on both.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
anybody have any other questions?
Biggest question was, what going above the top of the hill?
Mhm. Okay, thank you very much. We'll open the meeting to public comment or questions. Is there anyone in favor of this petition that would like to speak? Is there anyone opposed to this petition?
Nothing on file.
Nothing on file. We'll close the meeting to public comment. Are there any other comments or questions you'd like to mention at this time?
Nope.
Okay,
Appreciate your.
very good. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think overall it's very cohesive with everything else that's on the water, and I think after seeing what's holding that hill in,
Yeah.
I think it's a necessity.
Mhm.
I mean, the wall's gonna be at 12 feet, so if the shed goes back from there, I'm personally fine, because I think it needs to happen truthfully, or that is gonna wash into the water
Mhm.
at any time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think as long as, I mean, he's cohesive with the neighbors, I think the railing, my main concern was the railing to the east was no different than any railing we put on. It's not like it was glass, we didn't have any issues with that.
Right.
It's below the hill crest. I'm good with it. I think it's definitely, and I totally get what it means walking up that hill. I wouldn't let there get tuber and kayak up that hill either, so
Yeah.
I totally get it, and I've done work on several houses over there that have the exact same setup, because that hill is a challenge, and in order to keep that dirt on top of that, it does need to be concrete anchored in. Otherwise, there's no way to keep that in. I mean, back in the day, that was completely acceptable, but in today's standards, there's no way that's gonna fly.
The one further west, that we spoke of that had been here recently, a year or two ago.
Right. I remember that one.
Yeah, because that one did have a demonstrator about the view.
Correct.
And that's why we went with a cable
Right.
railing rather than, or a glass.
Railing, yeah, and that one was the same thing, but the elevation was higher as well.
Mhm.
So with this one being as low as it is, really, you're staying at ground level on that first tier.
Yeah.
So truthfully, the railing would be irrelevant in this one. In my opinion.
On-
That's up to you guys.
On the plans, are we set from the sidelines?
Yeah, so the side setbacks being met easily. One side is going to be 15 foot, the other 19, minimum setback would be 5 on both. So
Yeah.
we centered it pretty well right through
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, because I was gonna walk down there, it's pretty tight.
Yeah, it is.
Where's 5 foot?
Yeah, I'm not that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
No,
Oh,
you gotta
you gotta give it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I thought you-
I'll make a motion to approve that request.
Okay, second. Very good. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0.
So it is early as tomorrow, you can work on pulling your permit.
Congratulations.
I had a cough
better two away from me.
I was gonna say, I was thinking, I didn't think that. My wife was.
No, my wife's probably watching and saying, you need to go to picture. Of course, if you want screen time,
Well,
like a PE.
quick yell at me.
Yeah. And you still do your input. Yeah.
I'm going to see my hair.
Get into the page.
It will, when you print this thing, you start moving the icon.
Yeah.
The name sounds familiar. No, she was
Everyone got comments? Yeah.
and she went to church.
Yep.
Now she's changing or just.
It's fine. All right. With that, we can pick up the next hearing, and that is variance 2025-314 for Letitia Howell, and this petition for variance, which would allow a new off-premise sign to be located / constructed closer than 500 feet from another off-premise sign at 107 feet. Property is located on the east side of Huntington Street and 135 feet south of Pickwick Drive in the town of Syracuse. Right there's the property in question. Zoning ordinance does have requirements when it comes to off-premise signage. There's a spacing interval of 500 feet between off-premise signs. That's to help so that we don't get oversaturated with off-premise signs, try to help aesthetics, so on and so forth. In this case, the petitioner is wanting to use an existing sign pole, and it is on right about where Shannon's got her mouse right there. So that's the location of the new sign that they're going to be using the existing structure but replacing it with off-premise messaging. If you look right where she's got the cursor now, there is a current off-premise sign at that location. That sign's been there for years and has existed as such. So, when you do the measuring, we're closer than 500 foot, and in order to do it, we are zoned properly. It's just, is it allowed that close to another off-premise sign? That's the main question. Everything else is in line with that location. For this hearing, legal ID is properly appeared in the newspaper and by affidavit, surrounding owners were notified. And that's the structure and such right there. I think the copies here. Maybe I should have that now. There.
On the back side.
Yeah. Yep.
And then that's the grocery store part.
You got
Yeah.
it. Yep, that's the back lane into the grocery store.
Do you want me to go up further so you can see it better?
No,
Okay.
that's fine, thank you.
What is this one for?
Her date, yeah.
We'll let him explain.
Okay, I'm Eric Howe. I'm an owner of We Warriors Academy. And, I ran into the gentleman that owns that at 706 Huntington Street, and, he and I got to talking, and he said that I could use the existing sign, which has been there since I was a child. So, it's been not used for a very, very, very long time. I believe it was actually probably the grocery store's original sign back in the day. But it is owned by that gentleman there. And, I am requesting a variance to put up, information about our child care that we have here in Syracuse and also in Milford. And, we thought it'd be a great location because everybody goes to the grocery store, and that's why I'm here this evening, so.
Is this the one that the daycare that was across from the high school?
So they've had a couple different.
Yeah, we have, I believe it was about 2 years ago that we done like, it's kind of
Yeah.
2 in 1.
Got
It's a blue house right there on the corner of Road and Pickwick.
Okay.
It's considered 2 daycares now. There's 2 daycares there now. And then we also run the old New Beginnings childcare there, we took that over this last year, and we own the one behind, Key Bank here in town.
Gotcha, okay.
And right, so your plan is that structure stays, you're just putting your face material as shown there.
Yes, and it's, as, you know, this gentleman said I could use the sign as is. He asked me if I wanted it lighted, I said no. You know, I probably would say that, you know, very kind gentleman, and, you know, help us out with our childcare needs that we do have, and here in all the surrounding areas, so.
So, do we have anything that would be in correspondence with it in the area? Like, do we have any more instances of this, or is this our only one to go off?
You're talking like separation lines with an off-premise, so we've had different hearings with off-premise signage, different aspects, we had one, down Burger King, this point had a variance to be closer to the intersection. We had one on the side of Brian Tucker's building, right there next to near the car wash. There was hearings with that. There's uptown hearings with some, billboards and how much square footage they're allowed. So there's been deviations in different aspects. I think we definitely don't want to stray too far from those because there is a reason for it. I mean, you know,
That was my question.
but at the same time, each one is looked at individually, and, you know, part of the separation purposes is to keep the aesthetic, so is that going to cluster a property? Messages, you know, this is owned property, the message really is relevant in this case, what it is, but.
Right, with the sign for, what is it, Bean Town Marina, running this way.
Yep.
You know, and then this sign running this way towards the, you know, the opposite way towards Dairy Queen and the grocery store, and then the other one is on Gateway, you know, running, you know, right up in front of Puff and Puff, so.
What's the size of your sign?
It's 4x8.
4x8.
And I think if you look at the staff comments, they'd be different if we're talking maybe a lot bigger billboard, a lot closer to where the other one is. You've been in the maybe considering a tiny student additional one. Yeah.
And then is it, since it's not lit, isn't lighting also more of a variance or an exception?
Not for, off-front signs. Off-front signs doesn't, they can be lit, there's no restriction. There are certain provisions that talk about, distractions, whatnot.
Yeah.
And that gets into the flashing bulbs, that gets into even rate of change on the digital boards now.
Okay.
You know, they can have them, but they have to change their certain ways, so that's kind of distraction.
Yeah, because when, and we all, I'm sure, you know, make a habit of driving by prior to the meeting to look, and when you said that it's, you know, on an existing pedestal, I was out in the front looking crazy next to the mailboxes going, where is this? So, but
I always come in the back way, so I've looked at this forever and thought, I wish somebody would put something in here.
Right.
Or take it down. Because it is kind of ugly just to be empty. It's like you only see part of the grocery store sign through it.
yeah. So it is less than 30 foot tall.
Yes.
Which is, off from, yeah, okay.
I believe it's right around 12 foot tall.
Okay.
It's definitely no taller than the back of the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions for gentlemen? Okay.
Any question on the size?
Okay.
Because it didn't say anywhere.
Okay, give us just a moment to open it up to public comments if there are any. So, is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this decision of granting a secondary variance for this site?
Only thing we have on file is, permission from the owner, which I take in favor.
Yeah. Is there anyone opposed to this petition? None being so, we'll close the public comment. one of the staff comments was that for the person that owns this sign, and, you know, almost wants to place this with your business only, not to be transferred to any other business unless they come forward. Is that something we can?
Yeah, you can make that a condition of the approval, and then, yeah, if they no longer want to use it, and Mr. Landis wants someone else to be able to rent it, we have a chance to take a look at it and ensure the situation. So I think one change, if that structure was being removed, that definitely would be a change.
Mr. Lane, as, you know, as we've gone through this process, you know, like I said, he was very kind gentleman. He had said that we were going to do like year leases.
Okay.
Because he's not sure when he's going to want to sell the property, and that might be, you know, one of the future investments that I take on. So that being said, that we're going to go year to year, as far as, you know, using that sign, the old sign there, which is a little weird, but, you know, it's still old and strong, so. But that being said, we are just doing it year to year with him, and so whenever he decides to, you know, cash out and move on.
Very good. So I do think we lock it in with him only.
Yeah.
And then if he does sell or something else, we can represent the idea from the next owner, but I think we should probably lock this into
As part of the condition. And I think on your previous appearances, you know, we've mentioned to you, thank you for the service that you offer as far as daycare. That is something that this community needs and obviously uses. And
I appreciate it. Me and my wife work really hard. We work real hard. It's definitely it's my wife's passion, and my wife is mine. So,
yes. Very good. Okay, thank you very much. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
I move to approve with the condition of present business only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Very good. Let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Passes 4-0.
Just, we'll need to apply for the sign permit, and we'll get going.
well, thank you, gentlemen. Have a lovely evening. Merry Christmas to you.
Well, thank you very much.
You too.
I don't have any.
Well, maybe it's a hot toddy later.
And then,
No,
If you weren't sick, maybe I'd come over.
I'm not.
I know.
Hmm. Okay.
All right, the next two we can take together, same property, slightly different question. First one, we 2025-316 for Orville Lehman, a junior, and his petition for variances to allow the construction of an open porch 3 foot 3 inches from the right of way of the road and 4.5 feet from the side property line, taking existing from enclosed to open porch. Property will be on the west side of Lake Street and 555 feet south of John 2025-317 for Orva Lehman Jr. And this is a petition for variance which allows two residences on one tract of ground, add living quarters in garage for overflow family. Property is located on the west side of Lake Street and 555 feet south of John Street in the town of Syracuse. If you look up there, Shannon's got the property up as well as the survey. On the north side of the house, right there, you can see outlined in red is the porch area. As it says, they want to remove that, rebuild it with a enclosed porch, and that will be at 3 foot 3 inches from the right of way, which is where the existing porch currently is, and then at 4.5 feet from the sideline, which is where the existing house is at that line. The second request then, if you look down to the south and west, east, west, whichever way you want to go, garage, that garage is proposed to be converted into residential porch. And they're indicating for living quarters with for overflow family, so that's where the question will be. For both hearings, legal ad did properly appear in the newspaper and by affidavit from anyone who were notified. Sir.
Junior, already explained that, but Junior, I just, the porch in itself is an enclosed porch, it's an old porch. The windows on it are outdated, they don't hold heat. The porch in itself is actually, it does not have heat, it does not have AC, and therefore it's hot in the summer and cold in the winter. So it's got a short span of time where it's actually in a good condition to be used, other than, maybe just throwing trash on it, just, storage or whatever. So, I'm redoing the house in itself, as street view is occurring. This is what the, results I'm looking for. One thing that I'm also looking at is, from the, property lines, pretty much even with the neighbor's house. But if I do take that and open it up, it'll also give them a better view of the street and the neighborhood. I think for ourselves, our main reason of doing it is it will, be more appealing, a better looking house for a porch that will be used throughout the whole year. Unless people want to sit out in the snow, you might not use it during the winter, but, that's the main thing on the porch.
So will this be an open porch then?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, not enclosed then, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking the whole thing out and just, there'll be a beam above on the top and the post obviously just to support that roof. And that's all the weight it has is that the roof above the floor.
The floor of the current enclosed porch is
Cement.
okay.
There's an outdoor carpet on it, but it's cement.
You're probably not doing that, correct?
Yeah, the cement it's an old cement and it's a little bit uneven. My plan is to either re-cement it or to level it and to put a new flooring on it. Okay. To where you cannot see the steps on the front, I have plans to redo those. The steps that are existing, that are be on the outside, they're old, they're uneven, they're ugly. And I just wanna see that goes.
So you'll be switching to one step instead of two though, correct?
Yes. Those two are just, they're right
Not
beside
enclosed
it.
at all, yeah.
Yeah, no. And the only thing I was still concerned about, I had looked underneath it a little bit, is the bottom side, of the porch. Depending how that looks, I was thinking about, putting blocks underneath just for a fresh look. Just in case there's I believe there's some old bricks underneath. But I'm also want to make that look fresh and pretty. And if I do level the old cement, you would have to support that properly.
Probably be cheaper just to report it.
Right, there's a
To
good
be
chance.
honest,
Yeah, and it's, yeah, there's a good chance it will be.
So overall for the porch, it's just knocking out the walls, the windows.
Correct.
We're not moving closer
No.
to either the sidelines or the street.
and actually, if he does one step, it will move slightly back in order to make that consistent with the design.
And your plans are repouring the sidewalks and
The sidewalks have been.
This is
poured.
new.
oh, yeah.
We just reported this, so this is
Okay.
the only thing that's not reported.
Okay.
The
Very
town
good.
actually did this sidewalk
Which-
last season.
Is why I really need to be doing it.
Yeah, okay.
I need to manage
So he's really just be doing concrete, he's
Get there.
to here and his porch.
Okay.
Everything else is new as of last season.
Okay. Well, since we're hearing both of these together, do you want us to,
He can go ahead and, about the
Go ahead
garage.
on the garage. The garage in itself, well, the house, the motivation of that is the house in itself is, 1,078 square feet. Small rooms, nothing, just not enough for what I want it for, which is, to hold, family, friends. So therefore, I just want to add a bedroom and I want to add a bathroom. There's only one bathroom on the property. So, in a sense, that's, I mean, yes, simply put, it's just for the whole bigger crowd. And then with it being on the lake.
Are you, go ahead. No, you're right, go ahead. So Junior, is this your house that you're gonna be living in? This isn't a rental or?
This is my house. It will not be living in it necessarily. I do have plans to rent it to, like a weekly thing or nightly thing to friends.
Airbnb or?
There's a possibility of Airbnb in it, some, but, I was hoping to use most of it just for friends, if I can keep it busy, with that.
Are you opposed to, instead of doing the garage, are you opposed to just going off the back of the house? Because if you want and I own a construction company, by the time you run sewer out there, cut that floor up, add your bedroom, close the garage in, and redo that, you're probably going to be the same amount of money in as you would be to add a bedroom, bathroom off the back of the house, where you have more room. I would just love to see that house stay one residence, because when we get into turning a garage into a residence, now we're opening up a can of worms for,
Well,
even if we
when
keep,
he's talking about using it as a rental, he cannot have two residents on one property.
correct,
No.
and I know that as well, it has to be deeded as the same Airbnb or house,
And that's the plan.
but we're still opening up a can of worms.
But you're still gonna have a separate building as a second residence.
Right.
And that's not permitted.
Correct.
And that's, yeah, and I knew that was gonna be the little bit of the question on it as far as two residential. And that is not my plan, and to your question, on adding on to the house. The house in itself, it's an old house, and it has settled over time. It has been remodeled in 1967. According to what it has been remodeled of, the walls, the closets and the different things they do are still level. The rest of the house is not. So I believe it's not continuing on settling, but I guess my vision on the house is I want it to last another 40 years. And then more likely I'm gonna plow it down.
That would be my worry about the garage. So typically when you build a garage, there's no footer. It's just flat out, 4 inches, especially back in the day. So when you start cutting to run sewer, water lines, all of that stuff, that's probably gonna continue to settle, especially when you pour the new concrete. So you're better off, truthfully, in my opinion, adding on to the back, putting the correct foundation in, and running in, you're not running your sewer as far.
Right.
You're not, you know what I mean? So like, either way, you're redoing all of this, but you continue to keep your garage for, I mean, it's a lake house at the end of the day. You're gonna have storage, you're gonna have things you need. Where do you plan to store these things?
Right.
If you turn
Well,
that into,
That, I do have an, I believe I have mine in the garage. I'm continuing to keep, I think it's kind of a 12-foot storage on the front left corner, right there, where the door is at.
mm-hmm.
That would be my storage, that's the bathroom. And the bedroom entrance would be in the side, in the back, where the existing door is now. That, since I recognize that the second residential could be a problem, I was thinking that if that does become a problem, I was curious if I could still add a bathroom or, just because that if there's friends and if there's multiple, if there's two couples, I would love to have two bathrooms. Or a bathroom for the outside and a bathroom for the inside and just a shower and everything.
Or what's off the back where that peak comes down? What's off the back of the house there?
That, where it goes to the side, that is, I don't know when that was an addition, but that is the bathroom and the washroom. And that's where the heat, the water heater and everything. So the original, from what I see, from being in the house and, tearing out, carpets and so forth. From what I do see, the original part of the house is where the got that high peak.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the original of the house. And so obviously when they built this 1893, there was no bathroom, there was no sewer, there was no water. I believe this side got added onto it soon after, which is, the kitchen and the dining room. But that back side, I don't know, I don't have any reason to know when I got added onto, but that is all blocks and it's completely level. There's no settling, no sagging walls. The bathroom and the plumbing, all my sewer stuff is back in there. So
is there any way to add on to the back there, to add another bathroom or bedroom if you wanted to? Or are all your mechanicals back there?
everything is, well, the kitchen is on the side, but it's right, it comes from that room. There would be, well, I guess, over here, as you see in here, this little square,
Yep.
that is kind of their porch area that they have in this, secluded place on the property.
It could be done, it's just how much
That-
money they want to spend.
That is probably where I could, and what I would be thinking there would be attach it to the garage. If I would do something like that. But for me, I guess my goal is to redo the house to where it's, well, to improve it, first of all, and to have it help with the payments. And then once it's paid for, I put up a new house.
Okay.
So that's why I want everything just kind of be less money, and I understand you said the garage, I might get all that in there, but I was planning on doing all of my own work on that. So,
Can you zoom in real quick on that back area, that back patio?
I think one thing too, when you're looking at what we've done, kind of countywide, most of the time, the per owner who's living there and this is their overflow for their family that's coming to visit them once in a great while. This isn't the case. This is a different family weekly. This is a different. I'll be honest. There's no way to even regulate to say moving, which it could be rented successfully.
And that's why I would like to see it stay on the house.
And it's true. If you would deny it, he has that option. That's an option he could take and go that route if he wanted to add on to the
Did
house.
you do, how much did you say he has between the floodplain off the back
Yeah.
of the house?
It was, pretty good.
He's got a good distance
Yeah.
there, yeah.
Because I think it was 60 feet you have, but the only issue is that road, I live on Front Street. Yeah, there's a major flooding problem in the road. knowing that property that I've known forever, that street, you might be susceptible to water in that garage. When we get heavy rains, depending on how high the lake is. I mean, you can see where the flood level is.
Correct.
So if we do flood, your house is higher, it's on a foundation.
Yeah.
That garage is ground level. So you're way more susceptible to water there.
Yes, in a sense, the house though is a flat house, so that one's level from the back. It walks in level, same height as the garage. The garage in itself from this,
Even from the road?
well, the road is, there you got your curb inch from the road, and then the garage in itself is probably 6 inches from what the road is. But the house on the front side, you have, you've got the porch, you have the steps feet on the porch, but the back side is level to it, to the outside. With that being said, on this flood zone here, the yard from here to here will rise at least 6 to 10 inches. I haven't actually scoped it or anything, but you can see the gradual knock of it. And that's my only other question is if I cannot do a bedroom, if I could still do a bathroom.
I just don't like the idea of a bathroom because
It's gonna end up being.
it's gonna end up being a bedroom. It's what's gonna happen, it happens every time. And I get the outfit on needing the extra bathroom, but I still think, in my personal opinion, I would love to see it on the house. Because, A, you're close to your sewer, it's gonna be cheaper than running sewer out through that concrete into that garage.
Okay.
So, I mean, cost-wise, I know you already have a structure. But cutting the concrete out, running your new plumbing into that concrete, or into the structure, and re-concreting all of that back in, because that is concrete currently, you're really not gonna be adding much more cost to add it onto the house. And I understand where you're coming from with the thing, but I'm with that, with having the two units as a rental. I mean, technically, we can't even do that legally. And I just,
The only thing on the rental side is, I don't know if there would be an agreement to where it cannot be a yearly rental, or I don't know if there's a difference to that.
I don't know how we can enforce that.
Okay. And that's, the only other question I guess I would have on that would be, you were stating to re-pour everything. You're saying the whole foundation, if I would have to do the whole foundation to a certain amount of footage to it, or is
I'm not
there a
saying-
possibility of doing, just drilling holes for the septic?
I think he's giving you some advice from his expertise in that, you know.
because I own a full general construction company, and as doing this for a living,
Right.
by the time, so there's no foundation on that garage. Obviously, there's not a second story, so you're not supporting anything. But when you
Right.
start cutting out concrete and drilling underneath the ground, and you're gonna have to dig underneath that wall to run your septic, your lines, now you're creating a soft spot.
Right.
That even once you re-pour concrete, I don't care how good that's been compacted, that's gonna settle.
Right.
Now you have a 8-foot area where your bathroom is, that is now going to settle a minimum of an inch,
Right.
even after it's been poured. So now you've got a weak spot in your garage wall as well, which does concern me, especially with there being no footers there.
Right.
So then when it does freeze and heat, now you're raising that wall up when that does heat, because that's guaranteed to happen. Concrete's gonna raise and sink in the winter, especially when you're going from inside to outside. Before your interior concrete, well, now you've also dug underneath the wall
Right.
to bring your sewer in, and you've gotta have that down past the frost line, so it's not freezing. So now you're 3 feet, you've got, within inches to make sure that building doesn't shift in a major structural way. So that does make me 100%. And
That makes sense.
that's where I'm saying it's, for the little bit of extra cost, it would be to add any sort of foundational stuff to the back of your house. It's probably gonna be your best bet in the long run, even if, you want 40 years out of it, I wouldn't dig under those walls.
Right.
Unless you're gonna plan to put footers in there, and tie everything in. But now you're concreting around sewer pipes.
Right.
So you're just running into a mess of structural issues in the long run, especially being that close to the water. This ground saturates with so much water, and I know because I built a barn here. I raised my dirt up 3 feet, and I've settled a half an inch. And I removed 3 foot of groundwater.
Right.
And brought in good dirt, stone, compacted it for weeks, and I still have it.
So, yeah.
So it's just being that close to the water, you're just running into settling issues that you wouldn't have anywhere else unless you have high groundwater. But this area is just known for that. And that does make me nervous. In more aspects than just digging it out, putting it back in.
Right, right.
So I do think that if you were to come in and build off the back of the house financially for you in the long run, you're better bet. And it leaves you out of a lot of issues that we're gonna have with trying to add that into the second residence.
Right, right.
And it, you know, that's not even mentioning the parking, because Lake Street is only on the west side. You can only park on one side of Lake Street.
Right.
So,
And your buddy's owning the house across the road, right? To the right where the trailer normally is?
Yeah, that's my dad's house,
Okay, I thought
my
so.
brother's over here.
Yeah, yeah, okay, I know your brother.
Daniel?
Yeah, yeah, we have the same here, because I didn't move it this year, because he's.
That's right.
Yeah.
I wanted.
I talked to you, yeah. So I would recommend, I think you're better bet in the long run to avoid the rental issue, A, and B, you're gonna get more longevity out of doing it the right way,
Right.
rather than cutting that garage up and trying to make that into any sort of living space. Especially for an Airbnb. You don't want people, you know, say you do rent that out in the winter, someone puts on that bottom back concrete walk into their bedroom, now you're getting sick.
Right.
Keep them in the house as much as you can. That would be my recommendation. And like he's saying, parking too, storage. When people rent an Airbnb, they bring stuff.
Right.
10 by 12 with a man door, they're running into your stuff all the time. It's gonna be, they might be polite, but you're still gonna run into issues like that. I would keep that garage door at all costs. That would be my recommendation from a professional standpoint. And being in that
And hold on
area.
to those at least 30 days, just for the file. Your picture sheet.
You want?
Yeah, please, thank you.
Absolutely.
is there anything else you would like to tell us about, you've covered the porch and now covered the request? Okay.
Thank you.
We'll open it up for public comment, and if anyone speaks, you have an option to speak again. So, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone in favor of this petition? Is there anyone opposed to this petition?
Nothing on file.
Very good. Okay. Any last comments?
No.
Very good. We'll close the meeting to public comment. Were there any other questions you have?
On the motion to approve porch, the first, let them I second that.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and thank him for improving the front of the house with the porch, but we are denying your petition as part of the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. 4-0.
So, or maybe you can get a permit for the porch as soon as tomorrow. Hey, if you want to come in tomorrow, that's fine, otherwise anytime after that.
All right.
You can come back and try to add on to the back of the house if you decide.
When you need it here.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You can pull permission to add on to the back of the house without a hearing. Because as long as you meet all your setbacks, technically you're fine to do that without a hearing.
So what would be the setback on the side of the house?
5 feet on the new addition.
Okay, to the, okay.
Either side.
All right, thank you.
Yes, have a good one.
You too.
And you're far enough away from that floodplain.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
Okay, the porch is 16.
favor?
Gentlemen, before we get started, since you have 5 variance requests, we're gonna break it into 2, since they are on 2 different lots, basically 2 different parcels. So as Matt calls these up, that's why you'll hear only one part, and then later we'll attack the second part. If that's okay with you, we just thought it'd be easier for us to understand specifically which area we're speaking.
So, with that said, the first 3 we can take together, same property, slightly different questions, and that's gonna be on the property at, 1021 North Indiana Avenue. First, we have exception 2025-121 for Wayne Weingard for petition and exception of purpose on warehousing and storage units in a commercial district. Property is located on the north side of Indiana Avenue and 278 feet east of Branch Street in the town of Syracuse. Along with that, we have variance 2025-318 for Wayne Weingard for petition which would allow multiple uses, warehousing, wholesale business, and storage units in the same property. Property is located in the same location. Along with that, then, last is the variance 2025-319 for Wayne Weingard. This is a petition which would allow the placement of overhead doors on existing buildings, closest point being 4 foot 9 inches from the right of way of Indiana Avenue, and same location. So we're on the large property right there, Shannon has up, and multiple different requests as you're seeing. First and foremost, there's the warehousing storage units in a commercial district. Storage warehousing is an exception use listed on table A. So that takes a special exception to open that door in any commercial district, whether it's an existing structure or not. So that's the exception part of it. With the variance, first variance is for multiple uses. So it's listed out, they're looking at having warehousing, wholesale business, and storage units, which they're gonna elaborate on that use. So 3 separate uses within this existing building. And then finally, we have, they're gonna be doing modifications to the existing building. You can see that on the site plan on the right-hand side. One of those modifications is to add overhead doors on, called the longest leg of the building. And that closest point moves up to 4.9 feet at the southeast corner to the right-of-way of Indiana Avenue. So, for all 3 hearings, legal ad did properly appear in the newspaper and by affidavit surrounding owners were notified. If you want to see hard copies, you have to use it for you. All right.
I got some too.
Let me pass this down. Give me a moment to get them out and pass around.
So, before we even start,
Yeah.
my only question is, can we see a street view from Wood Street, or no?
Yes, Shannon, well, hopefully, at least from Indiana Avenue, we should be able to get a good view there. Click right at the intersection of Wood and Indiana. Yeah. That should give us a good. So right there, that long leg, you can see the longest leg coming out.
Is there not a door on that right now?
No, there is not.
Oh, it's only on the short leg, okay.
Yeah.
That was my confusion.
I
Gotcha.
I had to look twice myself.
I was like, I drive by this all the time, I'm confused. Okay.
You're watching the road.
Most of the time, yeah.
Alright, we're good to go.
Okay.
Good evening, Wayne Wiggers, the owner of the building, and also the, master school living, new Paris. I do have some hard copies here, as an individual as well. I don't think you guys have a 3D version, maybe perfect at opening.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, we tried to enhance the building. This is, one of the things that's right up the alley of what we do at Master School Living. Purchase this building as an investment property. Some of the biggest fallbacks in the building are, ceiling height, which limits the use of the building, period. So I'll go to the first there again, so I guess we're going to talk about the doors, and that's one of the biggest things that, we have an issue with, like, so let's say the long building or the overhead building, that one actually has the tallest ceiling height, that's a 12-foot ceiling height. But there's absolutely no way for us, we have a rack outside that we want to put in there. And, we can't even get it in there, because the biggest door opening is the overhead door at the bottom, it's 9 foot wide, and I think 8 foot tall. So we have no way of using, that ceiling height without putting it in. And this is where I wanted to get the permit to do so, and, they said, variance, which was storage, so what we want to do is put 2 overhead doors in on that south side, so we can access that. We want to, in the rest of it, we want to have, a walk-through door where the small overhead is now. And on the corner where the loading dock was, which we got rid of the loading dock, and there's a door there, it's within that 30-foot range, also we want to eliminate that as well. And then there's, around the corner from the semi-trailer, there's a door, and I don't have that one on that print, there's a little walk-through door that we want to use closer, and I believe that's the one that's closest to the, existing door there that we want to use.
So this will just be man doors though, right? The double doors are all just man doors, double man doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are man doors.
And then no semis coming in here.
No, it's only 11 foot.
Okay. And I figured, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any crazy long trailers coming in here.
Well, we have gooseneck trailers, I have a rent in this meeting, have a gooseneck trailer, but I'm not sure that would even make sense, to put inside, because, well, I'm looking at the winter time to unload or something.
Right.
But most of it's gonna be, fine, warehouse, anyway.
Okay.
Storage.
So where is the wholesale, because I know you do the pallet sales, where's that going in at?
This is I have it categorized, so this is the, what we would be the wholesale or, warehouse store.
Okay. Yep.
And that's all 12-foot ceiling height.
Okay.
And the rest of this is, 9 foot at best.
Yep.
So I'm proposing that, we would change this into, just conditions, storage spaces, storage units and so on.
Okay.
It's hard to find, somebody that would want to look at that level.
Right.
And then we have, B, which would be just, staying off.
Okay. So B will be where the storefront basically would be for the sales of the pallets and all that.
Correct.
Okay.
So
So that would mostly be customers coming in and out, necessarily not constant in and out of trailer unloading, or
no,
kind of
it's minimal, yeah, it's not, there'll be, individuals coming, I'm not running the business myself.
Right, correct? Yeah, I bought a few things off you
Oh, you did?
a while back. So
Okay.
that's where I've already been in the building, so I'm familiar with it, but that's where I was curious.
That's my son.
Okay, so where would be the main, for the people that rent the storage units, would they be coming through the double door, so it'd be small storage units?
We have, this would be the overhead door that we can change into a walk-through.
Yep.
And then we also have one back here, so we can have parking.
Okay.
Back into there.
Okay,
And then we'll also do one, there now.
okay. So it's no like big overhead door storage, it's basically indoor,
Right.
small storage.
Right. No,
Okay.
and they would have to have a
Yeah.
kiosk to get in, there's no exterior doors.
Okay.
Everything's inside, it's all gonna be a small.
So it's essentially small residential
How
storage
many
units.
units are you looking at?
Right now we have, a layout of about 35, and I can show you something that we have proposed, but we're not set on that.
Okay.
I have it here.
So you will be turning into the building between A and B into parking as well as that overflow lot on the
Yes.
south side. Okay.
So what we're doing,
So they could accommodate 35 parking spots. Yeah, worst case.
this is just a very rough idea when we came through, what we wanted to do. So, there's a restroom here, now, there's 4 restrooms in here. And this would, if we do this, we'll probably just demo those restrooms. If not, then we'll just take it out and then, I'll have to come up with somebody that wants that space. I mean, what was there was, what they were manufacturing,
Right.
something like that, would be a lot heavier and more.
So all these 5x5s and the 7x5 are accessed, they're all accessed from the inside of the building, correct?
The goal would be to have it.
From the inside.
So your maximum build-out number though is 35?
I don't have a maximum, but I mean, that could be some, I think when we counted these, it was 35. So, I mean, and they're different sizes, so if there's a max, if there's something to come in, you know, change it, obviously, we would have more, we would make that. So if that's a number, then.
I think parking's your biggest challenge. I just looking at it from the planning standpoint, you know, I know you had a lot to the south. Is that included in any of this?
It is our lot and part of the, you know, one of the lots, but that's something that we have to do, that's something we would look at.
Because it sounds like, you know, the wholesaling, you're gonna have customers there, and I don't, you know, hopefully, good business. I mean, you want good business, you know, that, but, you know, I know storage units don't have active, but you will have parking with that. And assumingly, you'll have trailers at points, so be pulling a trailer,
So we're looking at 77 units if we go off this rendering.
a lot more than 35.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I mean, we're at 35 right here.
Yeah.
And you've got 2/3 of the building left. So you got 77 proposed here. So. Definitely is a little bit different from here.
Like I said,
Just a little.
okay, well, if there's,
But if we have a cap on it, I guess, then you can
Right.
adjust your sizes to accommodate.
correct. This is, I mean, she's going forward tonight.
Okay. I just, you said 35 and I looked at it like I was real confused, so.
35 was off the top of my head.
Okay.
This was like 3 months ago.
Right.
Okay. I looked at that, so, yeah, that's obviously not right based off of that. So that's something that we look at. We're just
Okay.
trying to look for the best way to use the building.
Right.
And that was one of the plans that we had come up with.
Okay.
You know, if we have, I don't know what is the biggest pullback, you know, if it's storage unit or office or just a warehousing, you know, in your eyes.
Right.
So, I mean, we're not set on having all one way, this is just what we envision that we could do.
Okay. And
I guess, as far as leasing,
you're saying, you're looking at parking, using part of what's identified as A as parking for this too?
No, in between A and B.
yeah,
So that's all A, that's all A.
Oh, okay, got it.
So,
Yeah.
On your
okay.
side. Okay.
correct. Yeah, there was some storage sheds and there's one that we got. We also plan on, residing the whole next trigger. Right now, we're in the middle of lining the inside and that Liberty. And, obviously, I mean, we will put on. The categories, did I cover all the categories for you on there?
So will the rented office, I guess, that's not gonna be for your guys' business, you know, separately.
Correct.
So we will have to find.
With this plan, yeah.
Okay. So are you planning for parking for that office, I guess, on lot?
There's parking right here.
Okay, so there is parking on this one as well. Okay. How many parking spots do you know?
I'll get it.
Okay.
Right hand.
Oh, I see, gotcha, okay. And then what hours would you be open typically?
Currently it's by appointment.
Okay.
I'm not sure as far as how,
You would run your own
yeah.
computer? Do you have an idea of how many customers you have there at one time throughout the day?
typically it's 1 to 2, at the moment.
So then if we were to put, I mean, obviously we're never gonna have 35, say we did 35 spots, we're not gonna have 35 people there at one time. Realistically, let's just cut that down to 10. So we have 3 spots up there, puts us at 3 for the office. Puts us 10 people in the storage unit, puts us at 13. Say he had, even let's run it high at 5. That's 18 people. Say they have 3 guys there in the warehouse. So then we're at 21. So this is parking in the other lot, so we're covered for parking.
Yeah.
We have more than enough parking. So really the main concern would be garage doors. That close.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wanna speak on the garage doors, or, we just wanna hear.
Whenever it's appropriate, I can give you my comments.
Yeah, let him go first, then, yeah, let him. I guess the one thing with the parking I would encourage too is if that's the way you're going, you probably want to consider requiring them to be combined by deed. So that none of those.
Across the street with
on the south side, all of them, next to each other. Because all it takes is one property, selling, you've lost that property.
Gotcha.
And keep in mind, it's just, you throw an outside devil at it. He's using it now, this could be any wholesale business goes in there. So, you know, and again, you hope that any business going into town is going to do well. You know, you could end up with someone who does Christmas sales or something like that, that does wholesale.
So, I mean, I guess we could tie it to this.
If you want to tie it to these petitioners and these uses specific, you could.
And then if
They
we sold it,
have
have come back
They
and we could
petition you, yeah. You know, when they built these buildings, look how close they are to property lines.
Well, that was
Yeah.
long before we had
Yeah.
zoning up here.
Yeah, those were there probably, I would guess, I think they were before April 13 was rerouted.
So are those lines completely accurate?
They're pretty darn close, yes.
So those ones are.
Yeah.
So legally, can we even let anyone park in between the office and the semi-trailer?
There's nothing that,
They had a couple parking places in there when Corbin was still there. And he had some people parking in the ramp to get down, because he didn't have any semis back coming in.
right.
Yeah, and he has the south parking, or south lot. Yeah.
And I know that there was one time I was across the street at the post office coming out, and somebody coming south on 13, I mean, they just smacked, you know, a couple corners, and they just sort of bounced into that parking lot. Because I mean, you're zipping along 13.
In what's supposed to be a 40.
Yeah, or the 30.
No, it's 40 right
Yeah,
there.
40 right there, yeah.
You don't get to 30 till you come around the corner to come down the hill.
Okay. Well, for these, the exception of the 2 variances, do you have any more questions you'd like to
Now, parking was the biggest issue.
clarify? Well, what we'll do is open it up for public comment. And again, you have the right to speak after they do. And then if we have any other questions before we move on to your final statement, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Public comment time. Nancy.
Hi, Merry Christmas. I want to bump off you last night. Merry Christmas. Good to see you all. Hope you have a happy holidays.
They know who you are, Nate, but if you could, for the record.
I'm Nathan Shearer, Town of Syracuse. Some of this information came to us, and there was a few questions, seemed like there was some vagueness on intended uses. And that's really where the town is concerned, just like what are we using this property for, how's it gonna be used? Specifically on this property, just because of the nature of, I question what NDOT would even think about these uses, being right there where it is. And then again, parking and access, you know, being compliant with what the needs are. Obviously, we're in favor of anything going in a vacant building that is appropriate for the area and the environment which it's in. But some of the vagueness that, as their information was relayed to the town, was a little bit concerning because of some of the things that you talked about, like what if somebody else goes in there at some point in time? So we would certainly be in favor of restricting it to these uses and these petitioners, providing everything else is amenable to what the zoning code is, which you guys know much better than me or anybody else in the town or council does. So that's really the main concerns with this property, and then obviously, tying it to that extra parking on the south side, which we agree would be critical. So that's just kind of where we're coming from on this issue. But we'd certainly like to see the improvements. I was able to see firsthand what you guys did in New Paris with that building, drove by there periodically over that period, and it looks much better than it ever has. So certainly in favor of the facelift. Just want to make sure that it's something that is a long-term asset for the community. Well, yeah.
Very good. Are there any other public comments, either for or against these three, requests?
Nothing on file.
Nothing on file. Well, we'll close it to public comment. Would you like to respond to his concerns or comments?
I'd like to, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure, okay. I mean, can you elaborate on the vagueness, what vagueness of what use?
Well, no specific, I mean, the uses outlined were storage, wholesale, and maybe something else. Anytime there's three uses on one parcel, it always makes you wonder how those will commingle together and what that looks like, not only from a business's perspective, but also from a utilities perspective. And so not understanding what that looks like, in more detail, and even in the conversations that you had with them, sounded like there's several plans, trying to figure out which one's best, and you're asking for approvals. Well, what are we approving if there's several plans? You're not asking for one specific thing that anybody, is looking at. So that's kind of what we're trying to understand.
So the main thing is, well, we want to go in asking for everything, and then, you know, like I was asking, do we need, let's say for like even area of the building A, when I wanted to ask for a variance for warehouse, so when I asked, when I did the variance, I said, I don't have the leases for that. You know, do I need to actually ask for this variance for that? But no, and she was told me that, you know, this is, you know, go for it now, basically, and that's what it would be, the most likely would be, anyhow, I could see that expanding to, and then using that same, unit. As far as the overall plan, yes, we have it spelled out this way, I have it in this, I don't know if you saw this or not.
He did not.
Well, and I'm not the authority anyway,
Yeah.
so it's just that, we're just here to comment on it, and the decisions are left up to these folks here.
When I applied, that's what I applied, I zoned it out what we want to do with what areas. As far as the exact number of units and the layout, I knew the areas of the buildings that we want to use for what. As far as, you know, if this isn't in storage units, you know, then I'm not sure what, who would use it. I have some ideas for us as far as, manufacturing, but it wouldn't necessarily, there's nothing at the forefront that comes to mind. Therefore, that's why we came with what we did. And the reason for putting in the open is we want to present what we have planned. But we don't have, it's not set in stone, no, it's not set in stone. But that's what happens. We're here to get approval to do this master plan, and then this is what we do.
So, if we approve it today, though, you're kind of tied to what we approve. Because if it changes, obviously, you're gonna have to come back.
Then have to make some changes.
Right.
Hey, Brandon, I was gonna say the same thing. You mentioned possibly using it as industrial or whatnot.
Right.
You know, that happens, we're back to the whole new hearing, because kind of almost to the point that Nate had brought up, not every use fits well together. Because obviously industrial manufacturing, you're gonna have employees, more parking requirements.
Right.
So, yeah, I, just so your eyes wide open, these are the three uses we're approving.
Right.
Any of those change, we're back.
Right, I understand. So, yeah, if somebody, if I have a VC that wants to do storage A and B, that's different than that, then he has to come into.
A restaurant with it, it says, hey, I'd like to put a Mexican restaurant there.
Right. So, yeah, so that's within the commercial zoning, but, is there any more
Multiple
right
uses, yes, for multiple uses, one track.
Parking.
Yeah, and part of the restaurant.
So, I did have one question, if it's okay. Yeah. What's the square footage of B, C, and D?
D is about 6,000, I'm not sure on C or D.
Is the building
It's
structure?
20, the whole thing with the, outdoors is 21,000.
Is the building sprinkled? Changing the use of it, would it require?
Well, for storage units, 100%. Legally, you have to have those sprinkled over a certain square footage.
So they will have to get with the state, any alterations inside the building will require state permits, probably, and we'll get you in contact with not just the town inspector, but the commercial design folks, because that's something that,
Because I do think over a certain square footage, I know indoor storage typically
yeah,
is legally required, but I don't know what the square footage is, but I would assume that falls in.
11,999, anything over that. Now, it depends on the use, like if the
Right.
boat storage buildings that you see in the area, they're exempt because they're not doing anything but storing the boat. But if you're gonna have occupants and things like that, then it changes. And I'm not state fire marshal either, so.
but you're right.
But I know that, and then the number of exits as well would fall into that once you get into that stuff too, so.
And divvying up the building, that starts changing it, and, yeah.
I did have, so, getting back to warehousing, which was one of the items for the multiple uses. And, initially when it was 35, I felt pretty comfortable at 35 units. And then as we were double that, yeah. And again, this is a preliminary plan, but what our vote has to be on what's presented. And, we could, ask for your agreement with a condition resident 77 or 75, and granted 35 in that large of an area. You're gonna have very large storage units.
Without an overhead door.
Yeah. Is that something, would you be willing to limit yourself rather than 77 to say, and I'm just gonna throw out maybe 50? Is that something that you feel would be, an agreeable number?
That's not a number.
Yeah, because
So,
it's your business.
Right. I'd probably lean more towards finding a different, leasing for the whole thing. And then, not necessarily the whole thing, but, C and D, would be one leasing, and then D. Not knowing what this leasing is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just because of the financial part.
Right.
And then, we're talking, sprinkler systems and so on, and then we're getting into,
Yeah. No, prior to putting fence areas, up for the storage,
right,
yeah, if it's gotta, you have to run the sprinklers, that's a lot of fun.
this is a lot of fun. There's another aspect to it in the financial side, which is all heated and air conditioned. at this point in time. You know, so we also have to create something new, storage. So that being on top. So, but the openings, I still like to see openings, at least in the main,
Right.
we need more access, and this is, well, Ben and I are all talking as well, if we can't have this agreement, by far the best access, but we could put overhead doors over here as well.
If you do that 60 feet, yeah.
We would have to go into the other parcel.
Would you be opposed to, this door being 5 foot off makes me a little nervous. Would you be opposed to doing this one and maybe adding one here? That way you still get the one, but then you have one towards the back of the building as well.
Yes.
Which, I mean, and then you got more storage space on this side also. You can always add possibly a man door here for a walk-in. But this door being, if somebody were to back in, I'm just nervous somebody's gonna smoke
Right.
back in off the 13. You could come in off of Wood Street, but in order to pull a gooseneck in, you're gonna have to come in off 13 and back in to that first door. The second door, you've got a lot more room to make that corner off of Wood Street.
Correct.
So the front door would make me a little nervous going forward off that highway. You know what I mean? Nobody should be that far off the road, but like Matt said, it's happened before, unfortunately. That's all open here though, right?
Inside
Yeah,
the,
inside. Oh, one, two, three.
could it be center?
What if you were to center?
I mean,
Instead of doing a 12 by 11, what if you did a,
It might be, it'd be an idea,
that would still give you one big door on the front at least, rather than, if you didn't want to add that one on the one side, obviously.
The first thing that popped up into my mind when you said to move over that this could actually be a little off.
Right. Which I think would, I mean, and then you'd be able to still back storage back here, but if you had a larger trailer, you'd still be able to get in the front. So let's go back to what we're actually going off today, because this might be out. If he's not wanting to do that. Do we want to approve something that he's not sure he wants to do?
Well, it's up to you. You could, if you're saying, I just broke down the number, but 55. If that's a unit number that you're comfortable with, you could approve for 55 individual storage units in C. If he does it, he does it. If he doesn't, then we know he's coming back. Okay. If he wants something else in that area. Same with the doors, if you're eliminating what is called an eastern door and saying you can have the western door, and then if he's gonna put one on the east side, or west side, I'm sorry, that's where then I say you probably need to start thinking about combining the two tracks of ground as a requirement.
Gotcha.
Will lead into the next hearing.
Storage unit or for the,
I'd say if that,
what creates that?
well, if you're using that smaller track for anything that's integral to that bigger parcel, whether it's parking or access, it almost all should be combined, because, again, all it takes is selling it off, and now we've lost that use that is tied to it.
We have to anyway, if the parking technically for the storage units would be also there, so that has to be tied.
That would be my strong recommendation.
And then the one across the road, what's that actually deeded with currently?
Not a standalone track.
So it's not with A, B, C, or D.
Is not correct.
So we really need to tie these all together into one property.
That takes care of a lot of the parking concerns, yes.
Are you against that?
I would be against it. I would not be against, partial of building A, kind of, and even so, the parking lot.
Okay.
Because that building is on the edge of coming down, even though it's.
But you would like to keep the one across the road deeded separately?
Yes, I have ideas for that, I have a little bit of that, I have ideas for that.
Okay.
If we have time.
So how many parking spots can we fit in between, I guess, there though? Because that limits our parking for across the road, so if we get rid of the across the road lot, now we've lost 20 spaces. So if we go 55, we're not fitting 35 cars on that lot, even 30. If there's a truck and a trailer there, we've lost 3 more.
Let's see, wasn't parking considered 180 square feet? And if that lot is a 60, and then 132, we take half of it. So if it's 60 by 60, so 360, so let's see. $3,600. Yeah. So 3,600 divided by, so 180 square feet, 1,800.
My math ain't mathing right now.
What, I'm sorry, Matt.
3,600 divided by 180?
Yeah, cause it was.
One.
Yeah, so with building A still standing, and if
You still have 180 spots technically.
we'd have, did you say 20 spots in this area here?
So then plus 4,
Yeah,
so we're talking about occupying this with 55, this with a warehouse storage, which he said a couple at a time. But then we have to think about trucks coming in and out. Obviously, that's not happening all the time. 20's gonna fill up that.
yeah.
We can bring one truck and trailer back here.
So another option, and I'll say this is very advantageous. You could give him an option to continue it for a month and see if he wants to come up with maybe a good parking plan, a good layout. I mean, not that I ever want to continue cases, but, yeah, you know, if that's, you know, if that's gonna be integral to your approval, sometimes it's better to have that information than not. And maybe that gives them a month, to maybe refigure what they're gonna wanna do, and if this plan, they're hearing kinda how you're going. Yeah, I think that gives them a rough idea too, and maybe this isn't the flow for that.
I feel like that's not a terrible idea, just because we are like all over the place right now. I mean, it's not really a set plan. We don't really know what we wanna do. They're not really sure if this is even gonna be a thing. That would give them time to look into the cost of everything that's gonna cost and see if that's even something they'd wanna do. Because I do feel like if we approve this, this is coming back.
And I should say, are you all gonna be here next month too? Well, we have a forum, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, we'll. Yes. I'm right there with you. Can't predict some of that.
Can you put up like a firewall in that building with that?
Those are questions I think are good for
There are
the,
firewall already.
yeah, there's probably some.
Yeah, but I'm talking, as far as, so then you wouldn't have the sprinkler, or is it just the
I
overall?
still think that would be a fire marshal question, because I think after you get to a certain square footage, you still have to.
No matter what condition
This is actually,
wow on it, okay.
so this is an addition,
Okay.
the wall there, and this right here is the wall. And, so that's only a concrete block wall, that's only a concrete block wall. And, just hold.
And that's not a bad thing. You could see main channel today and the fires that they faced a year ago. You know, part of it's still changing. Because of that.
So they have, and then they have storage here and there. And also like that.
So,
I would, the way everything's going, I would be willing to just drop the storage units.
The storage would be in
The plan.
okay.
okay.
And what I hear, I don't, it doesn't have to happen that way, but I would like to see, two decrease,
Right, but
at least, combined C and D.
So are you saying like to drop it all at this point until you know who you have coming? That's gonna be the crucial point. We're gonna need to know what's going in. We can't just give you that open.
Well,
Yeah.
so, what I'd like to do is complete the building as far as the facade.
Done today.
And, but, so that means I would have to get the door open to proof.
Okay, so you could, and they are separate requests, and that's, yeah, part of why they are separate requests of that.
So, if there's, overhead doors, as far as two, I think we still want two of them. If, one has to be there, one has to be there, that's not a big deal. This overhead door was probably anxious for now, if we don't know what's going on, and then now we're
So the only thing with us moving this door to here, are you willing to tie these two properties to one property though?
I have no problem with those two properties.
Okay, because if we move a door over here in order to give you any access into that door, we would have to tie these two properties together. So if you're okay with that, I wouldn't have any problem giving the door here and the door here, and then approving the other doors personally, if everyone else was okay with that. And then having him come back when he figures out what's gonna go in C and D.
Can I get, the warehouse?
For B.
For B.
Yeah, and so that would be a single use at this point.
That would be the only use in the building, so that really,
Right.
the second variance wouldn't be needed.
Right.
So you'd be okay to put that in right away, technically.
Yeah. So you're eliminating the storage use.
Yeah.
One thing.
So would the warehousing be allowed to use the whole building, even if it's just one unit?
Technically, yeah.
Shoot, I have memorized now. Alright, so these are commercial buildings. There we are.
But then once A got occupied, that would have to be come back to be approved for that second use, correct?
Yes, yeah, so wholesale business still needs an exception use. So
Okay.
if the wholesale is gonna be for the whole property, you could approve that through the exception.
As an exception.
Yep, so that would be 121, chapter 121, if that's, and you guys do what you do in the end, but if you're thinking, approve the exception for wholesaling only, and then it sounds like 318 would be dropped totally, because that would be the only business in there. And then 319 would be approved to place the western door at 22 foot, 8 inches, with the condition that track, the building, or the track with building A on it would be combined together with the main parcel.
And then we would need,
If I said that all correctly.
so then would we need to get, also add in right now the door for the, would be west side, the western door?
Once you variance for that one.
Yeah, once that's
Tied
added, once
together.
those two are tied together, no
Okay,
guarantee.
okay, that, I just wanna make sure we did not give him that. and then
Yeah,
can't
so,
put that
so as long as those two tracks are tied, yeah, no guarantee. Bless you. Okay. So with that said, not to complicate this anymore, since we are talking about rolling into track building A,
Yeah, that's our other two.
what I would say that since those possibly would be combined, it's only right for them to say, okay, what's the use there, because let me read those two so you know what's going on there. Yeah, the first was the exception to allow warehousing and wholesale business in that building, so that's the exception part of building A. The variance part is to allow placement of the doors on so he's asking to put a single door on the south side, and that's variance 320. So those are the two aspects of building A.
There's one there already, and you're just needing the bigger.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So A and B though are not the same business, correct?
There's nothing in A right now,
Okay, but that would be for your overflow, correct?
potentially, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Well, if it has to be, since it's, you want it in one parcel, then we won't, then we have to have one renter must be.
Yeah, you'd have to come back for the second one if you wanted another tenant in A.
If we drop the side door, does that mean that, like we have a tenant in A and B? Two different tenants?
Technically, yes, right?
Because we would have to deed those two together, because he doesn't need
Okay.
access.
Your other aspect was parking. That you were
We dropped the storage unit.
right, but,
Oh, but we still need the parking for B.
well, and that, yeah, you would be eliminating the parking you talked about, that was gonna be on there. You know, again, if you would, or we could look back, would they combine that parking on the south side of the road with it, and allow parking that would allow those two practice spaces, but
I don't see any, I'm just curious.
Yeah, since we didn't go through the whole public comment, to the west of A is residential.
Correct.
Did we receive any?
nothing on file.
Okay. Of course, since the residents have been there when it was
Manufacturing that,
Yeah.
probably a.
already, in Frank cases, it's quiet over there. Okay, so you can keep this, because we don't need that in the file, because okay. Now, since we are sort of combining a couple other, with the other address, just to be above board for the exception and the variance that we added, that is A, we probably ought to call and see if there is any public comment on the other variance and exception, which is that separate property for that building there. Is any comment from,
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, from a town perspective, that one's less of a concern, because providing parking and
yeah,
backs and everything are all seen. So, yeah, the biggest concern, like I said, was more the highway and the access on and off and appropriate parking and stuff back, everybody's safe. And making sure the uses are all consistent.
Yeah. but since we're putting that apart, is that a separate building behind A?
You already tore that out.
And that's down. Okay. Okay, so, no public comment on those, so let's see if we've got this correct. So on exception 121, that one is only requesting for the wholesale business to be allowed in that.
Yes.
Okay. We are dropping off and not considering the variance 318, which was the multiple businesses in one property.
Right.
Because that's no longer needed. 319 deals with the doors, which we will need a motion about on that. 123, let's see, that is to allow warehousing and wholesale in building A. Is that still your desire?
Yeah, I would do it, yeah, because that's what we created.
Yeah, so exception 121 and exception 123 are very similar.
Right, but we're deeding them together, so
Yeah.
you'll need to, what goes into two variances?
Yeah, because they're still separate petitions, you'll still want a motion on that.
Okay.
Make it
Okay.
clear for that, for him.
And then variance 320 is the door
For A.
for A. And then one final part is combining by deed these two properties. Was that correct?
That's what you had discussed, yeah. Okay.
Is
Yeah.
So
Which one would that go on? Does it matter which one that go on?
I would say that's probably going with, it can be as an addition on each end, on both of, all of them, if you know, because parking, overhead doors, all commingled essentially at that point, so, an over umbrella, essentially, I'll say.
Okay. So, did we get everything right? Okay. Okay. So I think the first thing we'll do is ask for a motion for variance 318 to drop it.
Yeah, that's fine, yep.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second to drop variance 318, which is the multi-use request?
Right.
Any comments on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. 4-0. So 318 as a variance is dropped. Okay. Can we, instead of motion, can we combine 121 and 123 since they are similar?
You could really combine all the remaining four if you want, really.
Okay.
Yeah. With, and if I followed right, what you're looking at is approving section 2025-121 to allow warehousing and wholesale for one individual user.
Yeah.
You're looking at approving variance 2025-319 to allow the western door that's gonna be at closest 22 foot, 8 inches from the road right away. You're looking at approving exception 123 to allow warehousing and wholesaling for, the same user as the other under 121. And you're allowing variance 2025-320 to allow the doors to be installed at 21 foot from the right of way, all with the condition that the property at 120, or 1021 and 108 are combined into one single parcel by deed restriction.
Correct.
If that's what you're thinking.
Yeah. Agree. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Very good. Can we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Very good. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Thank you for not making me say it again.
Okay. So, yeah,
So, if you want, you can fill them out at the end, that's fine.
So you could be great. Well,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, so you need to make